Hey, hello everybody, I'm Munbalance, and today we're going to be talking about Paladin. This is a new format that I'm trying out, so bear with me as we venture into uncharted territory. This is Rotation Evolution, where we take a Final Fantasy XIV combat class and not only discuss its rotation at the end game, but all the way from level 1. This video should give you a good idea of what you should be doing regardless of where you are in the game or what your level gets synced down to for roulettes. Now before we do get into it, I should probably discuss what a rotation is, and to simply put it, rotations are what players define as the optimal order in which to use skills. In a traditional MMO with a global cooldown, which order that you use your skills in really matters, and combo skills are a great example of this, and is the game's way of easing you into the concept of prioritizing your skills in the correct order. I should also mention very bluntly that these rotations assume optimal circumstances, and in many cases you'll need to adapt on the fly. While this is good info to keep in mind, dodging AoEs and doing raid mechanics is much more important than a slight increase in your damage, especially on tank. Now, as a gladiator, your role is obviously to tank, but you won't really gain the means to tank until level 10 with your tank stance Iron Will. This essentially turns on your tanking ability by making monsters a hell of a lot angrier at you. It's good practice to make sure this is on pretty much all the time. It's not part of your rotation, but is extremely important, so I feel the need to mention it. At level 15, you'll get your first duty, Sash Tasha. And your options here are honestly too limited to make much of a rotation. We should discuss AoE damage though, since in many situations, it may be better to just spam Total Eclipse rather than doing your combo. In situations where you can even hit 2 monsters, the amount of value that you get from each skill use for Total Eclipse becomes greater than the value of your complete combo. This also helps you keep aggression on a whole group of monsters, but there is the chance that your DPS simply won't have AoEs at this early in the game, so pulling large groups is purely optional at this level, but later on will be expected of you. The rotation this early is extremely simple. It might be a good idea to lead with a shield lob to secure aggro, and then simply fast blade into riot blade, and repeat. Don't forget to keep fight or flight up as much as possible, since it's a really good buff and has a nearly 50% uptime. Something that RO players like myself tend to do is save the buff for the next boss or a bigger mob, but you really shouldn't worry about that too much. Just get in the habit of using it as often as possible this early in the game. Upon reaching level 26, you'll get Rage of Halone, which is the third and final hit of your single target combo, and using this combo interchangeably on 2 monsters is technically better than just spamming Total Eclipse, although situations where you're fighting just 2 monsters and not anything more is actually pretty slim. Now this is the point where you should consider optimizing the spacing of your flight or fight buff. It's clear that our combo is going to go from a 200 potency move to a 300, and then we finish with a 350. We can actually predict the impact the buff is going to have, and use it more efficiently. If we time our buff before the first hit of the combo, we get a boost over the 11 skills it covers of exactly 762.5 potency. I wouldn't stress about this too much though, and still just focus on using it at all at this point. The difference between the two options is just 4% and really not worth the hassle. Now, at level 30, you get your first damage skill that's off of the global cooldown. Spirits Within has a 370 potency at max health, and based on what I just talked about with Fight or Flight, you'll want to use this as much as possible. But you'll also want to use this during Fight or Flight as much as possible too. But since you're not going to always be at full HP, there might be situations where Spirits Within has come off the cooldown, but you've just got a few more seconds of cooldown on Fight or Flight. The maximum amount of time that you can wait before it's more efficient to just use the skill is 7.5 seconds. If you've got 8 or more seconds till Fight or Flight is up, then just go ahead and use the skill. You're not losing DPS. At level 40, you'll get Prominence, and this is the second half of your AoE combo. Not much changes, you just use this skill interchangeably rather than just spamming Total Eclipse. It's also now more efficient to use this on as little as 2 monsters. Previously, your single target skills had a little bit more of an impact. At level 50, you get Circle of Scorn as your final Gladiator skill, which is another AoE, this time off of the global cooldown, but more importantly, your first damage over time skill, or dodge for short. You'll want to use this as often as possible during a fight, and soon after you've gathered a group of mobs. While its initial damage is weak, the skill does a total of 295 potency over its duration, and this is multiplied by however many monsters you can hit with it at once. At 54, things get really interesting for your main combo since you'll get Goring Blade. This is another dot skill, and at 390 potency completely outclasses the final hit of your combo. You could just go ahead and replace Rage of Alone on your hotbar at this point, but you'll want to keep it close by for when you get synced down below level 54. You'll still need to use it. Goring Blade does a total of 964 potency over its duration, so you'll want to keep this on the boss basically all of the time. At level 60, Rage of Alone comes back stronger than ever as Royal Authority, and gives us a reason to use it again. You'll still want to use Goring Blade as the dot is too valuable to miss out on, but using Royal Authority while the dot is already up will result in more damage. Let's say that your Goring Blade combo is your A combo, and your Royal Authority combo is your B combo. And your rotation now opens up into doing an A combo once, then a B combo twice, and by the time that you're back to Riot Blade on the 4th rotation, it'll be time to apply the Goring Blade dot again. Obviously, as you're learning, I'd say rely more on Goring Blade, since if you picked between doing the two combos, it's more effective to use Goring Blade every time than Royal Authority, and the dot applies damage in situations where you can't reach the boss. Not to say that it's going to do damage while the boss is invulnerable, since that will just ignore all damage altogether. At 64, you get a new kind of damage ability in Holy Spirit, as well as the trait Divine Magic Mastery, which makes it worth using at all, since your magic skills will now cost 2000 MP rather than 4000, thus can be used outside of an emergency situation. I think the usefulness of Holy Spirit is extremely limited at this level. While it's nice in situations where you can't quite reach a mob, the cast time makes it very hard to use this seriously, and it won't become a staple in your rotation until 68, where we get Requiescat. This is a damage skill that's off of the global cooldown and boosts the potency of magic abilities by 50% for 12 seconds. This raises Holy Spirit's 350 potency to an impressive 525 and gives you the opportunity to rotate into a quick burst of magic while fight or flight is down. The goal of your rotation now should be to get your dots up with a fight or flight boosted Goring Blade combo and make sure that you weave in Spirits Within and Circle of Scorn, followed by 2 Royal Authority combos and then finishing off with another Goring Blade. Once that's done, you'll want to push in Requiescat and start spamming Holy Spirit until you run out of MP. At this point, head back into your physical combo and reapply Goring Blade before it runs out. At level 72, you'll get Holy Circle, which at 250 potency is going to be better than your physical AoE combo all of the time, as long as you have the mana to use it. This is also boosted by Requiescat, but still outpaces your physical AoE combo without it. I would lean on the side of saving your MP for the next Requiescat if there's not a long time to wait for it. At 74, you get Intervene, which is a gap closer. It does 200 potency damage, and it can hold up to 2 charges of the move. This can be included in your physical rotation to improve damage, and of course you could splice it in just about anywhere since it's off the global cooldown, but personally, I would avoid spending all of the charges, since this skill can be really helpful at dodging certain AoEs. And then at 76, you get Sword Oath. This boosts the power of Royal Authority even more. Now when using it, you get 3 stacks of a buff called Sword Oath, which allows you to use a brand new skill, Atonement. Atonement is essentially just as strong as the final hit of the combo, so the main thing that changes here is that you're going to be using 3 Atonements instead of another Royal Authority combo before going back to reapplying the Goring Blade dot. At 78, you get Enhanced Requiescat, which essentially allows you to instant cast your magic for the duration. Not too much changes with the rotation though until 80, where you get Confiteor, an 800 potency AoE finishing move for your magical combos that can only be used during Requiescat but also disables the buff. This essentially makes it a 1200 potency move, but also forces you to save it till the end of your magical combo. I'd say it's strong as hell, but we're on a Paladin, so we don't have time for that blasphemy. Just go ahead and use it even on single targets at the end of every Requiescat burst. And that's it. The optimal offensive rotation for Paladin from your very first duty to the very end. Like the video if you liked it, sub to see more like it, and pop down in that description for links to stuff like my Twitter and Discord. A special thanks goes out to the Patreon supporters, keeping the channel sponsorship free while getting cool perks like seeing videos a day early. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.